Okay, I think we're live. What's up, everyone? Welcome to
Our Halloween
Wednesday.
special, right?
Wednesday,
Yeah, our
yeah.
little Halloween special, right? This
of
was cool because we did one last year where we did
right,
Rosemary's Baby, where we both watched that for the first time, and now this year we're gonna tackle Lake Mongo.
Nick Mungo. That's right. And thank you for picking up there, bro. Honestly, at the time of this live stream, I've been up since like 5:30 this morning. It's currently like nearly
You're
quarter
pulling
to
one of
10
my days,
at
yeah.
night. It's been a long day. Been a long day. But no. Firstly, thank you, Norman, for joining me, bro. I really appreciate it. How are you doing today?
Doing very good, brother. Like I said, I did a really, really long stint at work, but now I'm done and time to celebrate Halloween Eve, going into Halloween. This is kind of like my like Christmas. This is my main time of the year, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I know, like we were talking just before the stream as well, this is like your big celebration of the year, right? I know Christmas, of course, for a lot of people. Halloween is for you, a dedicated horror channel right here. Um, and we'll get into that. We'll get into a little bit of Halloween prep and stuff as well. But anyone who's watching live or after the fact, Noran's channel link is down below in the description box. Please go show this man some love. How many subs are you on now, Noran?
Oh, I think I'm at like 572. I think I've gotten to that point now where I actually don't really check as much now. It's more like about making the videos, interacting with people, and then like I got so much stuff scheduled, like with you and like with voices from the mausoleum and stuff like that, that the subscriber thing kind of like goes over my head now. But I think I'm at like 572.
Yeah, I get it, man. And it's just as you go along, you get busier. And I mean, you just said, like yourself, you're in demand at the moment. So it's like trying to play, like, keep time free for that and then balancing, 8 shifts in a row and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I
Yeah.
applaud you for it.
Thanks so very much, brother.
Of course. So, anyone who doesn't know, but just before we start and kick off this stream, we are talking about Lake Mungo, as Noran pointed out before. This is a 2008 movie, and we are going to be talking spoilers. So, if you've seen the movie, great, join along in the live chat. If you don't care about watching the movie, join along in the live chat. But if you do care and you want to check this movie, get the hell out of here. Come back when you've seen it and come join us on this discussion, which is going to be about half an hour maximum or 40 minutes maximum. So, Noran, yeah. So, last year, as you said, we watched Rosemary's Baby for the first time. We did a crossover if anyone is interested. My review was on Nora's channel and his review was on my channel,
Yeah.
uh, which is a cool little turnover and kind of a little switch for people as well. I really enjoyed that actually.
I know, yeah,
Um,
that was a lot of fun. And now that we did, like I said, this one this year, I think, every year we'll kind of keep it fresh and we'll come up with either like a movie idea, we'll have dual reviews or we'll live stream or something. So we'll keep the Halloween special rolling every year.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to. And I've really enjoyed the idea that we did last year where we switched over. But I've been busy lately and I know you've been really busy with 8 shifts in a row. So it just makes a bit more sense doing a live stream.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it cuts back, like I said, with us being YouTubers, like editing. That's the fun thing about live streaming is like, I mean, we can make mistakes, but like I said, we don't have to edit and all that stuff. It just goes right to YouTube.
right, right. Raw, off the cuff, no kind of, pre-prep or anything like that. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But the whole point of like our Halloween crossovers is to talk about a movie that we've not seen before.
Yep.
Horror Noran is more well versed in horror than I probably ever will be. So it's really cool for me and Noran getting together, and I'm like, right, Noran, what movie have you not seen? So we can actually pick a movie. So yeah, talking about Nick Mungo, this came out in 2008, which is crazy. That to think in a few years' time this is going to be like 20-year-old movie.
I know.
Um, Directed and written by Joel Anderson. I've never seen this person's work before. Have you, Noran?
As far as I know, this is like one of his only directed projects. I think he was part of the
Okay.
writing team for Late Night with the Devil. I saw that.
Ooh, I did not know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I heard that he was just part of the writing team, and that like since this movie, that he's just been a writer. That's all he's really done.
Okay, okay. Which I think is very interesting because this is like an Australian horror found footage esque kind of type movie,
Yeah, it's like
documentary
a
style.
found footage mockumentary style, I guess we would call it.
Yeah, perfect summary to be honest. Yeah, because like when I turned it on and when it first started and shown, kind of like documentary, mockumentary esque kind of style footage. Emma was like in the room with me, and she was like doing like a horror coloring book as well, like paying attention every now and then.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, the movie's not going to be like this the whole movie, right? Because I didn't know what to expect going in. And she's like, yeah, I've heard it's going to be like this. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. You know, but I like found footage, but I'm quite particular on it as I like start watching more of them.
Yeah. That's
And I
one
think
thing.
you have a bit of a relationship with that as well, right?
Yeah, that's one thing is like found footage is probably, if I was to say like out of subgenres of horror, that's probably my least favorite. I've seen a ton of found footage, but it, like you said, kind of like you, it's very specific or particular what kind of found footage I like. And then when you start thinking about the rules of found footage, there's kind of certain things that take you out of it. Like if a movie has music, where's the music coming from? You know what I mean? If there's multiple cuts and multiple camera angles, you're like, what camera is this? You know, you're kind of like, oh, we're supposed to only be one camera, this, that. But
Right.
like you said, as you begin this movie and you watch it, it's a mockumentary style. We're following this Australian family and the eventual death and drowning of their daughter. So it's kind of like this traumatic tragedy event, but like you said, shot in a mockumentary, documentary kind of style.
Yeah, which I think is in a way quite unique, especially for like 2008. I felt like at certain parts of this movie, it felt more like way ahead of its time.
I can feel that for sure. Yeah, this definitely feels like one of those movies that I'm surprised that I missed it this long. It was kind of just, I kept putting it on the back burner, but like over time, over years, like horror fans were telling me, like, no, you need to check this out. Definitely check this out and stuff like that. And be it that I'm very surprised that this director never did anything else because in terms of atmosphere and there are some really creepy vibes too, some camera shots and cinematography that they use and the way they use photos that actually lends itself to being kind of creepy.
Yeah, and I would say that was probably like my favorite aspect, Norman, and I'm glad you touched on that because throughout, as you said, like this is about a family dealing with the death of their daughter, Alice, or
Mhm.
Matthew dealing with the death of his sister, Alice. Um, and as the life is going on, and as he's taking photos, you actually see her in the background and footage as well, or photos, but you've got to pay like really close attention to like notice where she is.
Mhm.
And I felt that was like really good because I was like, okay, like where is she in this photo, or where is she going to be in this part of the video footage, and is she actually really there or not? Because Matthew exposes a secret at first about um messing with
that
the
he
photos, right?
Yeah, that he was kind of doctoring them and stuff like that, which that was kind of funny. That was one thing that I'm glad you brought that up because when I first watched this film and then I started reading about it, I didn't pick up on that part. I missed that part. So I must have like not been paying attention or I was like too sucked into something else at the time, like of the movie. And I just like didn't realize that that even happened. So I read that and I actually, like said, went back and I watched this again too. So I watched this film twice, I think in 3 days or something like that.
Nice.
And yeah, like I think definitely, like you said, to agree with you that the atmosphere and some of the cinematography was very well used, and in terms of the way they did some of the media handling, the interviews, and the way they kind of paced it, I was quite happy with a lot of it.
Mm. And I think that's an interesting point you bring up because we'll get to that towards the end in terms of our final score.
Mhm.
But to touch on that, when I was watching it with Emma, she seemed to enjoy it a little bit more than I did, but she also did bring up a great point saying that this movie might be more enjoyable on more rewatches now that you know the story from the ending.
Mhm.
Because it doesn't give you like a clear picture from the from the first second in and say,
Yes.
right, this is what happened, this is how it's happened, all this kind of stuff. It's told in a very slow structure. So how did you find that, Nora? And of course, watching it like 2-3 times in a short amount of time.
See, I thought, yeah, like I said, the way it was the first time, I thought it was kind of slow. And then I can see how you said, like Emma said, the second rewatch, it was more picking up on little nuggets and little details that I didn't see. But I, like I said, I already was comfortable with the pace of it. I was already comfortable with the story because I knew where we were going. So I was just picking up all those other little nuances that I wanted to pay attention to. So yeah, I can totally see why this one would be more rewatchable and like something that you would like if you got second and third or fourth watches on it.
Right. And it's cool to hear that perspective as well, because I thought we were going to go into this with both of us have just seen it the one time only.
Hmm.
And maybe both of us want to check the rewatch out in a later time. But it's cool. I've only seen once and you've seen it a couple of times. So we've got a few different perspectives straight away. So that's really cool. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so me sometimes I get like that with movies where either I like it enough where I want to rewatch it right away, so I'll just start it again, or like I said, I feel like I missed something or I feel lost. If I get to an end of a movie and then I feel like I'm lost a little bit, I'm like I kind of want to go back because I'm like backtrack and figure out like, oh well, what did I not pay attention or did it just go over my head or were they really that smart and they just surprised me that much kind of thing.
Right. Right. And I think that's a cool approach to it. Because sometimes, I think nowadays, with how much resources we've got on the internet, it's too easy to like maybe to get lost a little bit in the movie and then go on Google afterwards and be like, like what happened in Lake Mungo or what happened in X film, and then you read about it and you're like, okay, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
obviously, as you said, you go back and rewatch it and be like, right, I'll see where I missed out on.
Oh yeah, that's why I like definitely because every film I think I've had multiple different experiences with on the second time, like I said, that second viewing, and this one being this might not be tone wise, this might not be a heavy rewatchable film because it is kind of in essence a tragedy. It's a very sad story and stuff like that. And me being
Right.
a parent, like it very it speaks to me and stuff. But in terms of the style, and very impressed with the writing and even the characters. I think the fact that they're Australian actors and an Australian family, it kind of makes it better for me as an American viewer because when I watch it, I don't know these actors or these actresses. They feel like a real family that I'm watching.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that plays into the movie's strengths. Talking about the positives, we'll go into a little bit of the positives. Is you're right. Yeah, it felt like a natural family. It didn't feel like we were watching like 4 or 5 people being paid to do an acting gig and read the script that they're given, as such. And I don't know if that was I don't because I didn't read the trivia after this movie because normally I go on IMDb and I'll read that. But it felt like some of it was improvised or how it
Oh
was
yeah,
structured was. You know.
that's great that you picked up on that because yeah, that's kind of funny because I found out reading about the production of this movie that Joel Anderson got the cast together and he didn't tell them fully exactly what they were filming. They knew kind of plot
Oh.
points and certain things about the story, but he didn't tell them everything. So when they did the interviews, like you said, there's improvisation from the actors
Okay.
and actresses because they don't know the full story actually when they're getting the questions.
Wow. Okay, I did not know that fact.
Yeah, it
That's
was pretty
unique.
cool.
That explains why it feels like it's more natural and they're not reading, every line, word by word and getting it right for the documentary kind of style. Um and did you have a favorite character throughout the entire picture?
To be honest, I would probably say the mother character, just because she was so good at that, just that sorrow. Like you could see it in her face, you know what I mean? And the feeling and the way she talked about it and stuff like that. And the dad was kind of more just monotone and just kind of dry. And I understand why his character was like that. And you kind of get that, explanation. He's also the one that they asked to identify the body. So he kind of has this more dry tone to him. But I like
Right.
the mother character is probably my favorite in terms of the movie.
I think that's a great point because well the mother is June
Mhm.
Palmer and she's played by Rosie Traynor or Trainer. I can't read my own writing, so that's my fault. But Rosie, either way, Rosie plays June Palmer, and yeah, one thing I really liked was the mum. Of course, has the grandma in this, and there's the family photos, and they all look alike as well, like
Yeah.
Alice, June, and the grandma. And sometimes in films, when you get like family portraits, and you're like, the mum and grandma don't look the same. The mum and daughter look completely different. They
Yeah.
actually did look like alike, and it looked like a genuine family. So I like that.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Like I said, they had authenticity. That was the other word I was trying to think of. There was a certain authenticity that they brought to the film and stuff like that, and you can see it in terms of the characters and the writing and the atmosphere. And then even some of the just kind of weird, like lingering shots of like the empty house, or it'd be just an empty room, and then you'd see the light change because it's like sun is going down, and then just the camera there, and you hear them talking about it and stuff like that. There's just certain uses and certain things that I was very impressed by.
Yeah, there was some cool film technique throughout. Yeah, I agree, and I think it's certain things I think is really effective.
Mhm.
I really like it. Was it Ray, the psychic?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that was
Ray.
yeah.
It was something like that. But I really like that in a way because with his character, I thought what was quite cool is when he's doing these sessions, when it's like, one on one, people maybe want to talk to a loved one that's passed away or whatever approach they're going to him for.
Hmm.
I like even just the simplicity of design that he kept 2 copies of every tape. He's like, right, one for maybe client, and they can have one for client confidentiality, or if he needs to come back to it one day, he's
Yeah.
got it there. But then also the twist with him that Alice actually came to see him months before she passed away. I was like, that I like that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, so there are elements, like I said, that I liked in terms of when you discover little things on the story. This is a film that it takes you along this journey, and I like how they had, like I said, the pace of it, and it has a story structure that builds. It's not one of those ones, like you said, that just kind of drops everything at once, or like you have to wait till the end, but then you don't like the end as much. Like I actually thought this film, like I said, handled it very, very well. And in terms of the ending when we got to it, I think this one, I feel like for me, it's just I still wanted a little bit more. There's still elements of this film where I wanted more in terms of the scares or maybe the supernatural factor. So that's one other thing. Sorry, you can probably hear if you can hear my dogs barking, that is totally my animals, not Mike. That's not Mike's animals. I have a farm at my house.
It's all good, brother. It's all good. Yeah, I heard the dog, but it's all good. And the dog just wants to join in the live stream. It's all
No
good.
worries. But yeah, if you want to
Um,
talk, go ahead. Yeah.
but no, it's all good. But no, like I think you make a great point. I think like the ending is it's a sad ending with all these revelations, and we'll talk about a couple of them in a minute. But then, you get all these revelations, and then you get to the ending where they decide to kind of up and move house. But
Mhm.
then Alice is behind in the window as such, and kind of like again, what Emma was saying is it's kind of like they've left her behind in the house, and they kind of not so much moved on from the events, but they
Yeah.
found some closure, I guess, to the events. Best way to kind of say it.
Yeah, and they were able to kind of, I guess, like you said, decide that there is life after this event. You know what I mean? That there's gonna be more that they could go on and stuff. And like you said, they'll remember her. That's why it's kind of like you said, they linger because she's back there. They'll remember her, but it is time for the family to go on and find something else.
Yeah, and I think I think in a way it's quite hard hitting because it's kind of like if say if anyone had a tragedy like that, or just in general a tragedy of a loved one, and then you moved house, and then it's kind of the thought of being like, well, actually, are you leaving them there? And
Yeah.
then are they going to be left there? And then when the next family comes and moves in, are they just going to be living with like a family for the rest of that time with that? And it's an interesting question of prospect.
Yeah, that would be if this was like one of those 80s, like kind of early found footage films, and then like, kind of like Blair Witch, I could see them being like, oh, well, let's do a sequel. And then like somebody else, like you said, would have moved into the house and she still would have been there and they would have had to discover and then go back to the original family and talk to them and find out what's going on and stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think it was kind of cool, like how they said I think the mom has the line in here where she talks about how all of the haunting and all of the kind of dread and all the fear of that stopped once they found out kind of everything about her. Once the story unraveled and they kind of knew Alice better as a person through this journey, then it was time, and she kind of was happy with the discovery.
well, they made the discovery as such at Lake Mungo itself. I guess
Hmm.
kind of give the title of the movie the purpose because while watching it, I was like, where's Lake Mungo coming to this? Because I think you see it in one part as like a diary or a notepad. It just says like Mungo and like red writing, like repeated on a few lines.
Yeah, like
Uh,
there's just like something that they jotted down, and then you end up finding out that we cut to, was it her cell phone video? That is probably the most
right.
important piece, one of the most important pieces of media that we see in this film.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a possession, a demon, or like a future self in a way. Kind of say like, well, you've got to do the sacrifice, so she buries her belongings in like this part of the sand, I think.
Yeah, so she buries all her stuff, like all her belongings and stuff, and that's how they end up tracking it down. The parents go there and they end up finding the tree or where she buried it near that and stuff, and that's how they find certain footage and videos and stuff, and stuff about her and the neighbors too. I believe that comes up, which is kind of like this controversial thing. So it's very much a, like you said, a discovery of who she was as a person.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, so what do you think of the neighbor aspect? Because I thought when it came to that part of the footage where they slow it down, and then they say it's like actually like the neighbor creeping in the background, I was intrigued. I was like who the hell's this? You know?
Yeah,
And then of course it cuts to the part where they're trying to find Alice's safe in the room, which the neighbor's looking for ultimately, but doesn't find it, and they have it. But I was just like, like where does this kind of come from? I don't think it fully fit in for me personally, but I'd love to know your thoughts.
yeah, it was a little bit jarring. Like I understand what you're saying because I remember when it happened, and I was just like, for a second there, for like a few seconds, I was like, "What am I watching again?" Like I just, you know what I mean? Kind of like it is a jarring moment because you're following a story and you think, like I said, it's going to be supernatural and all this stuff, and then this is one of those nuggets and nuances that's more a character development piece study part of like who Alice is as a person. You know what I mean? And that's what's kind of hard too is this film has to balance a certain tone and focusing on a character that we never get to really meet. Like we don't ever really get to discuss with her or see her live besides, like you said, the interviews that you see of footage of her.
Yeah, that's all you really get of Alice in this. Yeah, like obviously the characters talking about her, interviews, obviously those tapes of Ray when she sees him, and more just like old video footage, like camcorder footage, really of certain aspects, but they're only like maybe a minute long, if that.
Yeah, so we don't really get to, like I said, get her side or her words. So this is kind of like said the parents discovering this story and like all the stuff that we find out is kind of like her telling her side. That's kind of the what the director was going for and the writers.
Yeah, and I think it's a unique way to do things because it's a little bit different than giving us. Because you said, like, I think you did a great comparison, Noran. To be fair, like you mentioned if this was in the 80s or the 90s, they would have done it where they probably would have made a sequel, and worst case scenario in the sequel maybe done a flashback prequel to show you basically a full character study of Alice.
Yeah.
And it would kind of eliminate the first one of the mystique, and you're wondering, well, who is this character? What's she doing? Why did she drown, or like what demons was she having in her own life at that time?
Oh yeah.
And I feel like this is a movie that's kind of gone and gotten more appreciation as time's gone on.
I feel that too for real because as I've noticed more fans in the horror community and then more people that are found footage like fans heavy, I hear them constantly, bring this one up. And this is typically one of those ones that'll be in the top 10 list because it's that strong in terms of the characters and then the story and stuff and the execution of the kind of movie it is. It just kind of depends on if personal taste wise, if this is going to be something that you're going to return to a lot.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a fair comparison because this is the one where I mean, because I would like to know this from you as well, Lauren. Like, so I first knew about this movie through Chris Stuckman because
Oh, nice.
I think it was a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, because he does this Halloween special every year, and he reviewed this one, and I was like, Lake Mungo, I like, what is that? And I think he gave it like a really rave review. And it was one of those I was like, yeah, one day I'll get to this,
Yeah.
and then like this year, thankfully it was on Amazon Prime, so I got to check it out for free. Part of the Prime. But how did you first hear about this? Like, who was the person who told you about this movie?
So this one was, I think, my buddy Angel from Voices from the Mausoleum. I saw her posting about this, and she's a found footage heavy nerd. Like she's literally watching every Halloween. She usually watches like 31 found footage films. Like that's just her jam. That's what she does. So
Wow.
I think it was one time on Twitter a few years ago, and I saw her posting like a top 10 list of her favorite found footage, and this one was on there, I believe. And yeah, I just never seen it. Got into a conversation with her, and then over the years, like you said, it kind of was like you. I just put it on the back burner. One day I'll watch it.
Right.
I did a found footage kick on my channel. I watched like 35 found footage films. I didn't watch that one, so that one got put on the back burner again. So it's like it just ended up happening like that, but it was meant to be because then now we did our Halloween special. We're here right now, chatting up this movie.
Right. We got there. Both of us respectively got there in the end. Not straight away, but we got there. There is a found footage movie I'm going to ask you about after the stream and see if you've seen it or not. Because if you haven't, definitely recommend that movie. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about positives. We talked about what we liked, kind of appreciation that this movie's gotten since 2008 up until 2024 at the time of this live stream. What was some negatives that you had?
So for negatives, it's just me. I think it's because of me being a personal taste person in terms of I don't really dive into found footage as much as most people, that I'm one of those people that likes a little bit more in their third act. Like I like it just a more impactful climax. This is definitely one of those movies that hits you more when you sit and think about it. And then you talk to people and you have conversations like this. Like this is fantastic. I'm having a ton of fun, conversating, talking with you about it. But this is after the fact. But in terms of when I watch a movie and the experience I want more satisfaction by the time I get to the third act. And this is, like I said, one of those films that I didn't get it at first. So like I said, I had to go back a second time, pick up on some nuances and stuff, and I had more fun on that second rewatch. So it did climb up a little bit in terms of the rating, but I still would like a more potent third act and me just more scares, more creepy stuff. But I understand they can't really give you that because this is mockumentary style. So they're not going to jump scare you. There's not going to be slasher kills. There's not going to be, special effects or nothing like that. It's more about the ambiance.
And I think that's a fair negative to have, yeah, because I feel like it could have done more. Like because we've spoken like, look, it's a slow build. It doesn't give you the answers up until pretty much near the end of the movie, and until it starts to wrap up a little bit. But I felt like they could have used the images a little bit more effectively, because they do try to build it in terms of quite like it feels like they kind of want to go into that territory of being scary and having those jump scares, or being like, oh, who's the creepy figure in the background, and
yeah,
you spotted in this scene and in this picture and in this video file. And then it kind of feels like it pulls back on that a little bit to have that reveal of being like, oh, she's always been there despite the tampering with the photos, and until they get to that point of to realize who, as you said, like who she is as a character and who she was before she passed away. And I feel like you made a great point as well, Lauren, about this may be more effective for someone who does have a child. Because
that's one thing for sure. Yeah, that's one thing for sure. I think, like I said, as a parent, what I was lingering thoughts after the film. Yeah, it could feel like, because I have daughters that are 13. I have a son that's 6 years old. So anytime I would be a parent and I lost a child, and then to find out that I didn't really know my child, that time went on and now they're gone, and you just, like said, you lost all that opportunity to really dive into getting to know them and love them. It's like I said, that hits. Like I said, I get emotional right now just thinking about it. Like I'm kind of talking about it and stuff. So it's like it's one of those things that this is a film that, like I said, that's why I gave it such a good score eventually when I'm thinking about it, because it is a strong story in essence, and the stuff that they're trying to portray. Like I said, it's just not my cup of tea all the way. Like this isn't going to be one of those like 2-time-a-year rewatch type films, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's an important point to bring up though, because it's one of those where I feel like it would be probably a rewatch for both of us in the future. Don't get me wrong, like when I finished the movie, I wasn't rushing to rewatch it or thinking, right, next year, this time next year, I want to rewatch this again.
Yeah.
Because my personal kind of found footage movie I would love to go back to is Wreck. That's my favorite one.
Nice. Yeah, that one I watched because of you. That's the one I watched because of you. I remember because I was on a live stream with you, and we were talking about movies one time, and that got brought up. And I was like, I never seen it, and I remember you told me, you're like, dude, you got to watch this movie.
And what do you think of Wreck?
I like Wreck. Yeah, I thought that one was really good in terms of like, especially like I said, the atmosphere and tension, and that one has more, like I said, more of a wind up in terms of when you get to that third act and the punch that it has and stuff. So that one
Right.
for me is more of a potent horror film, like more quote unquote a straight up horror. This one is like I said, more of a tragedy, almost a drama. You could almost call Lake Mungo a drama, but it's handled with some horror elements.
Yeah, I feel like it goes more of the drama route than again like the creepy, spooky kind of atmosphere.
Yeah,
And I feel like I would have liked to have seen that a little bit more. Because then it could have made the audience thinking, oh, well, it's just this haunting presence that the presence that's lingering around, or Alice is just trying to scare the family, but actually you learn she's not trying to do that.
yeah.
She's she's just trying to be remembered, and for the family to figure out who she actually was before she passed away. Um, so it sounds like we have a couple of like similar negatives. What would you give it for like a final score?
So my final score sitting on it when I did my letterbox, I gave it a 4 out of 5. And in terms of out of 10, I would probably settle at an 8, a solid 8 out of 10 for me in terms of my enjoyment. And like I said, because this is one that I will rewatch and I would. But like you said, it's not a heavy return to. The main reason I just went right back to is because I did feel like I lost some things that went over my head. So I wanted to kind of get that full effect of what happened in the film. But yeah, this is probably an 8 out of 10 for me.
Nice. And that's a cool thought and kind of final score in it as well, because as you said, you've seen it a few times now in a short succession.
Hmm.
So I would have loved to have known your score on the first watch,
Hmm.
because I've only seen it the once, so I gave it like a 3 out of 5 stars, which is still, like three and above for me. I would rewatch the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe a 2.5. Like they're like teetering on that fine line of, kind of want to rewatch and kind of not want to.
Yeah,
Um,
2.5. So the ones where you're like, maybe, but then if you watch it through a different lens or you're in a different mind space, you might give it a 3 that next time.
yeah, and I feel like this is a one where I think it would be a really good on a rewatch when you sat down and you have to be in the mood for this one. Whereas I feel like other found footage movies, like for example, like Wreck that we've just talked about, that's the one that I could easily throw on the TV and just sit down and have a blast with that movie.
Yeah, just vibe out. Yeah, for me, that my found footage film like that for me would probably be like Spree with Joe Keery from
Right.
Stranger Things. That's very much a fun found footage film, even though there's some gruesome deaths and some killing in that film, of course, but it has a more fun nature to it and it's more fast paced. So that, yeah, Spree is kind of more my found footage, but there's also ones that I jive with too, like Alone with Her is kind of more this tone that's more of a slow build kind of film, and then it's like when you get to the third act, it's like, oh wow, like what, and it lingers with you.
Oh wow. Okay, I've not heard of that one.
That one's
Um,
good. That actually stars Tom Hanks' son. Colin Hanks is in that movie. He's the lead actor, bro.
I've seen him in a couple of movies, to be honest. So I don't mind him.
Yeah, he's pretty good in this movie. Yeah, Alone with Her, you'll watch it and be
Alone,
like,
alone with her.
yeah, Alone with Her. Yeah, when you watch it, you're gonna be like, wow, dude, this is Tom Hanks' son. You're like, wow, this is kind of creepy.
Well, thanks for the recommendation, man. I've wrote that down. Because I've seen
Sweet.
Spree, and Spree's a fun movie.
Oh yeah, definitely that one I love.
Yeah. The one I was going to bring up before, if you've seen it, have you heard of a movie called Exhibit 8?
Exhibit 8. No, I haven't.
So it was a screener sent to me. I'd like to say by Gravitas Ventures, but it could be a different studio. I've forgotten. Um, I got an early screener for it, and it said it was a found footage. I think it's. I can't remember what country it is. I'll be honest with you. It might be Germany, maybe Netherlands. I could be wrong. Um, but anyway, it's a found footage movie, and I'll be honest, it's like the best shot found footage movie I've ever seen.
That's
Uh,
cool.
yeah, it's like feels like it's putting professionally shot found footage, and not just constant shit. There's a tiny bit shaky cam, but most of it's solid, and it's a pretty good story with a short runtime. Um, I think it might be quite hard to watch online. I mean, it might be somewhere, but I definitely recommend that one, bro. I think you'd really enjoy that one.
Cool, sweet. I'll keep that one on the list. I'll put that one on my letterbox watch list.
Nice. But yeah, man. So we've talked a bit about Lake Mungo. Before we wrap up on that, do you have any more thoughts you want to share on the movie, or do you think we've kind of touched on everything?
No, I think we're pretty good. Like I said, touched on everything. And if there's anything like Halloween, any Halloween vibes, anything you got going on, Mike, for the Halloween holiday at all?
Yeah. So Halloween tomorrow. Unfortunately, I am working until 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. I think personally, I might go to the gym after work because Emma doesn't get in till about 8 o'clock, 8:30 time.
Okay.
And I think definitely tomorrow I'll watch a horror movie before I go to bed because I've got early work early the next morning.
Okay. So it might be
But I've got
a little movie night for you guys.
yeah, whatever that movie is, I don't know at this point in time. But it's definitely going to be a movie. But I do know the weekend I think I'm going to go see Smile 2. Um,
Sweet.
and possibly Heretic, the Hugh Grant horror A24.
I do. Yeah, that trailer. I saw that trailer. It does look interesting. That does look pretty crazy.
Yeah, and Hugh Grant in a horror. I was like, okay, I'm intrigued, you know. But how about you,
Nice.
brother? What are you doing for Halloween?
Tomorrow we'll bright and early probably start maybe a little bit of pumpkin carving. I got to get the kids to school because they do still have school. So probably while we're getting the kids ready, we'll have like Scooby Doo on or something, or I'll be watching. I've been watching Bob's Burgers Halloween episodes. I've been watching that
Oh,
too.
nice.
Those are really hilarious. And then also we got to do some more baking, getting the costumes ready, and then trick or treating time and stuff. And I usually cap off my movie night is usually Night of the Demons. That's like my ending movie to cap off the night when we're just sitting down, chilling with candy and eating cookies and stuff.
Nice, nice. It's cool that you've got traditions and routines you do every year for that, and capping off with like the demons.
Oh yeah, that's really fun. Now the fact that I got Linnea Quigley's signature, the picture, and she signed that 4K, so it's really special watching that film now.
It just adds a bit more levity to that pinnacle already, you know.
Oh yeah, and then you just have that story always to tell him, and then even my son, like you said, being that he's only 6, but he'll be able to tell his friends and everybody in the future. He's like, no, I met her. I met that lady before.
Yeah, right, right. No, man, that sounds like an awesome Halloween. I'll touch on that in a second. We've got a few little comments before we kind of wrap up. Got
Nice.
Jason. Yo, Jason, what's going
So
on? We've got Daniel Berry saying, hey, Daniel, you're doing well.
hello.
Jason saying, is this better than Sharknado? Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. This is on a whole different level compared to Sharknado.
Right. Two complete different movies for sure. I've got my brother Joe. Joe's in one here. Yo, Joe, what's going on?
So
And he's adding in saying Wreck is so good. Yeah, I agree. And he said they're all solid movies, even the later ones, in my opinion. Yeah, have you seen the later Wreck movies, Norm?
I haven't seen the later ones because they did 3, right? I think they did there's 3 of them. I think, isn't there?
No, I think there might be 4.
4. Okay,
I think there might be. Yeah, I think I've seen them all.
nice.
The first one's the best, and then it kind of like tails off and it kind of do like spin-offs as such, but they acknowledge like some previous characters, and
Okay,
then the
cool.
fourth one touches back into the first one. I'm pretty sure there's 4 anyway.
Nice.
That's cool, man. But no, like it sounds like you got a great Halloween coming up as well, Nolan, and I appreciate you taking the time to join me to talk about Lake Mungo.
Definitely, anytime, brother. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, this is one of those Halloween specials. We got to keep it going.
Yeah, bro, every single year. But it won't be the last time that we collab if you guys are like new to my channel or new to Noran's. We collab quite often on live streams, watch alongs, all sorts of kind of stuff. And then, as I say, last year we started a tradition talk about Rosemary's Baby for the first time watch. This year's Lake Mungo. Hope you guys have enjoyed the discussion. If you've seen the movie, leave a comment below. Let us know your thoughts on Lake Mungo. If you decide to watch it for the first time because you've listened to our review and take on it, again, let us know in the comment section. Subscribe to this legend over here, and
Thanks, brother.
go support Noran. I mean, just a guy who was just filled with horror content. Well, Noran, before we wrap up, if you just want to quickly plug your channel, tell everyone what you got coming up.
Oh yeah, so yeah, here at NornRad89, I typically do horror content. So I do rankings, reviews, and stuff like that. But I also go over physical media if I pick up anything new. But I also do music content too on my channel too. I've been recently building up my vinyl collection, so you'll see me pop out vinyl videos every now and then. And for November, for the future, I was talking to my buddy Steve about this. I think I'm gonna do because I've actually been watching a lot of extreme horror as well too. I think
Oh,
it's kind
okay.
of yeah, I think it's kind of funny that going into more of a family holiday season that maybe during November I'll talk about some of those horror movies that I watched and I was like WTF, like those really crazy ones.
Right, right. And I think that'd be a really cool series because it was a few months ago when I watched Green Inferno. I was like, I kind of like to go on like a disturbing horror movie binge until I get to the point where I'm like, right, I'm done. I need a break.
I'm done.
But yeah,
If you liked Green Inferno, you should check out Eaten Alive. It's oh man, oh, it's a rough watch, but it's almost the same concept as that. But think back in the '70s and Italian. Mm,
oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, sounds. And I know I want to watch that one you watched the other day, Eat as well. I want to watch that one at some point.
Oh yeah, that was good. I'm glad Rashad watched that one, bro, because that was so potent. That was one. So speak to like we were talking about our personal taste. That was one when we got to the third act. I was in love with it. Like it hits, and that last scene. Oh my god, I was in love with it. I fell in love. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this one a lot.
Wow. Okay, I'm sold. I'm sold. But yeah, no, definitely go subscribe to Noah. He's got a wide array variety of stuff. Got a lot more stuff on the way. He's done a lot of Scooby Doo rankings as well. So if you want to see more Scooby Doo
Oh yeah,
content, head over to this guy's channel. But no, man, it's been an absolute blast having you. It's been great doing this little collab. We will definitely be back next Halloween for another movie and plenty
definitely.
more collabs. But yeah, thank you, brother, for joining me, and thank you guys for watching. And yeah, till next time, we will see you later. Take care,
Peace
everyone.
out.
See ya.